Hi, everyone. My name is Brandon Kramer, and along with my co-authors, Taya Pristofitz and Joshua Goldstein, in the Social and Decision Analytics Division of the University of Virginia's Biocomplexity Institute, I'll be presenting our work, which shows how using publicly available data and predictive modeling can be used to better understand neighborhood change in Fairfax County, Virginia. To give you a brief roadmap of what we'll be talking about today, I'll first go over some background about Fairfax County, Virginia, giving some demographic information and the like. I'll then go into some previous research on gentrification and show what the literature has told us so far, and then touch on our data science framework, which helps us model a neighborhood change within the county. We'll touch on the data methods and results, briefly touching on the descriptive analyses as well as the results of our spatial autocorrelation model, and then go over some conclusions, which include potential policy implications for Fairfax County, as well as the result or the relevance of our results for adjacent literatures. In our division of the Biocomplexity Institute, we are working at the intersection of social and policy analytics, implementing aspects of data science to solve pressing problems for local and federal policymakers. Over the past couple of years, we've been working with Fairfax County, Virginia, to examine what ways our approach can be used to study and develop policies aimed at creating a more equitable place to live. Today, Fairfax County is one of the largest, most wealthy counties in the country, one that is growing rapidly due to a number of social and economic factors. For one, Fairfax is adjacent to Washington, D.C. to the east, and Loudoun County to its west, the latter of which is notable because it houses giant data centers for Amazon, Google, and other tech giants. Some suggest that more than 70% of the world's internet flows through Northern Virginia, dubbing Dole's corridor the Silicon Valley of the East. Given its proximity to politics in the East and tech in the West, Fairfax is home to a growing number of jobs in tech, healthcare, and government contract agencies, leading to a low unemployment rate of only 3%, and a median income among the highest in the nation. Fairfax is also quite racially and ethnically diverse, and for this reason, it become increasingly focused on how to develop policies that ameliorate existing inequities. Upon starting this project, Fairfax came to us with the question of how to measure social vulnerability and monitor local neighborhoods and how they've been changing over time. Like elsewhere in the country, Fairfax's populations become more racially, ethnically, and socially diverse. However, the prosperity of the county also poses risk to how existing residents are able to maintain access to affordable housing options. As a result, gentrification threatens to displace many groups from the neighborhoods they've long called home. By gentrification, we mean the transformation of local populations in predominantly residential urban areas by building or renovating into areas with a higher class tourist and service purpose. With the development of Fairfax 1, the county is committed to a strategic plan to address existing inequities and make the county more welcoming to its diverse residents. This includes a commitment to developing neighborhoods while still limiting the negative impacts of gentrification, which would help residents of all walks of life stay in their home. To this end, they wanted to better understand the current state of neighborhoods in the county and, in a sense, predict what could happen in the future given public administration decisions. Before going into the specifics of our approach, a little background on gentrification might be helpful. First off, gentrification is a transnational process that has affected cities all over the world. The point here is that gentrification is both a social and a spatial process in which neighborhoods change based on capital investment pushes populations from one location to another within the city. Governments can play a major role in shaping these trajectories. For example, local governments are often responsible for selecting which census tracts are deemed eligible to get funding for federal programs like opportunity zones. While opportunity zones are often framed as being advantageous for local communities, these policies do have a long history of making neighborhoods unaffordable and ultimately displacing long-term residents. Thus, it's pivotal for governments to use data to establish baselines and monitor change to guide their policy practices and decisions. Gentrification also has a rich history within the academic literature. Although much of the literature up until this point is largely qualitative in nature, the smart cities movement has seen a growing number of cities as well as academic researchers implement statistical models that help governments determine which areas are most vulnerable to neighborhood change. For example, Seattle, Harris County, Texas, Portland, LA, DC, and the Bay Area have all collaborated to use modeling techniques to classify at-risk tracts that are likely to see neighborhood change or gentrification in the next 5 to 10 years. In the case of Seattle, for example, they've been able to use these models to develop counterfactual policy scenarios that help them to realistically account for population growth while also forecasting how new housing or apartment complexes might best serve their diverse communities. Taking this background information into account, we begin to work through our data science framework. In this framework, we start by identifying a problem, in this case, the problem of measuring social vulnerability and monitoring neighborhood change within Fairfax County, Virginia. In the second step, as I just mentioned, we scoured the literature not only to better understand the existing models of neighborhood change, but also to identify existing data sources that might be useful for incorporating to our model of predicting census tract gentrification risk within Fairfax County. As Taya will show us in just a moment, we worked through wrangling all of these data, determining their fitness for our case study, and then ultimately developed a model which we simultaneously communicated to our sponsors at Fairfax County, as well as thinking through the potential ethical implications of what this model might say for community residents within Fairfax. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Taya, who will tell us more about the data, methods, and results of our model.
So we retrieved data for this project from the Census Bureau's American Community Survey. ACS is a continuous household survey that provides nationally representative estimates for population demographic and socioeconomic characteristics, as well as property characteristics. We retrieved all the data at the census tract level using 2010 decennial census geographies, and we used 5-year estimates from 2008 through 12 and 2014 through 18 as our study beginning and end period data. We also used the Bureau of Labor Statistics Annual Average Consumer Price Index Research Series to adjust current dollars for variables like median property value and median household income to 2018 constant dollars. And data from ACS was missing for 9 tracts, but we established that these were occupied by military installations, large parks and green spaces, or airports. We coded gentrification status for these tracts as not available and excluded them from our predictive model. And no data was missing on model covariates. We used a number of measures to assign tracts a gentrification status, which is our outcome variable. And we followed the methodology described by the Rice Kinder Institute for Urban Research used for a similar project in Harris County, Texas.